Welcome back to Men and the City. So in today's short video, we're going to talk about what to do if you're stuck. So the title of today's video is going to be, if you're stuck, break pattern. One of the mistakes I think that a lot of people make is they tend to fall into a rhythm that then becomes a complacency, that then becomes a box, a prison, you might say, that they can't escape from. This happens literally. People join a company, they work there, and then eventually they look back and they've been there 10 years. And then they say, well, what would happen the last 5 or some odd years? Well, you became complacent. You got into a rhythm and you forgot about all the other things that you wanted to do. Or maybe you just you resigned to the fact that you couldn't do any better, so forth and so on. So you got stuck. Well, how can you break out of that? Well, I think you have to break pattern at a minimum. How do you do that? Well, you'd be surprised at the tremendous fluctuation or the shift that you can cause, the throttling up or down that you can affect by changing your location or changing one major event or action or daily chore that you do. So as I think most of you know, I travel quite a bit, and whenever I travel, it's truly remarkable the extent to which everything changes. I was just in Colombia. Colombia is an extremely dynamic, you might say chaotic place, especially Medellin where I was, and even Cartagena, the city before that. But it's just a very different, dynamic, chaotic feeling. Argentina, which is, it's not that close to be sure, but it's maybe a 6 or 7 hour flight away. Well, guess what? It's totally different down here. The weather's different, the people are different, the language is different. Yeah, they speak Spanish, but it's a totally different brand of Spanish. They use different words and they have different jokes. So just by virtue of hopping on a plane and going to a different country, everything's changed. Now that's a more macro change. What about those of you that don't have the money to do something like that? Well, you can drive to a different town or go to a different cafe, or instead of going to the gym that you go to a new gym. Changing the venue of the activity that you're doing will create opportunities. It will simply shake the tree a little bit and break that mold that you're stuck into. The same applies to jobs. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody should automatically leave a job that they've been in, maybe a year or 2 years, something like that. But if you do feel stuck, then it's time for a change. And the good thing about Americans, at least, is that in the United States, we sort of encourage that change. I know in other parts of the world, it's a little bit different. But breaking pattern, even in a small way, in the morning, if you always work out, and then you sort of, in the evenings, you take it easy, reverse it. Flip the dynamic. When you break pattern, new opportunities present themselves. I'm not entirely sure why. Some of it's just the mystery of life, I suppose. That's what makes life interesting. Change one variable, and all of a sudden you've shifted the entire model. And that's a well-known feature of the scientific world. That's part of the reason why forecasting the weather, be it climate change or the economy, is incredibly difficult, because variables change. So you can affect that change by shifting and breaking pattern, even in a small way. So, hope that was helpful to you. Stay tuned for more, and we'll talk soon.